What is up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Talking Elite Fitness. I'm Sean Woodland with Tommy Marquez. Tommy, fresh off some stucco work.
Yeah, we were talking before this how much the progressive commercials about unbecoming your parents has just got it pinned, right?
And,
Like,
and the thing is, like, you don't realize it until you're like kind of down the road of it happening.
yeah.
You know,
So the gist of it is our stucco scratch coat is going on. It just got finished, and my father-in-law and I are elsewhere doing other stuff. Uh, and after lunch, we're watching the guys kind of tidy up a few things, and they've got their mix going, and we're kinda sitting there watching, and then but within a matter of a couple minutes, we're like, "So, when you guys are mixing and using the paddles and kinda getting it on yours, how do you get that little wrist flick there?" And they're like, is it more of a flick or" and then the guy's like, "No, no, 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 like, don't touch metal to metal, keep a little extra, and you get that flick and it stays on." We're like, "Oh, okay." We're, like, right there in with him, like, basically like the guy talking to the guys working in the manhole. And and I turn around and go do something else real quick. I come back and my father-in-law's in there putting coat on alongside the guys like, "How's this?" And I'm like, "Oh my god. We hired these guys. Just let them do their work and get done.
yeah.
They shouldn't be teaching us." But yeah, it was perfect. I was like, Sean's got to hear this because this is spot on.
Yeah, it's because, it's like you see all those videos of dads like at a hotel or something, they're all on the balcony watching some heavy machinery. It's because I think we're just hardwired as, man, it's like we
Mhm.
want to be useful. And so we see something going on and we're all like, maybe they'll need me.
Yeah.
Maybe I can, or maybe I'll learn how to do this at home. I don't know what it is, but we all
Yeah.
do it. It's unavoidable. It's going to happen. But I'm glad the stucco's going on well there. Um,
Mhm.
Lauren is fittest at the coast, so she's on assignment today. She's working that event. So we're being left unsupervised once again, but we're going to have some fun today. We're going to go over just some quick news items. And then we figured, the Open's right around the corner. Why not reminisce a little bit? So Tommy and I have put together our list of top 5 all-time Open announcements. So we're going to go from 5 down to 1, ranking our favorite Open announcements. We have not shared our lists with each other, so I'm sure there's going to be some overlap, but I'd be very interested to see where that is and if we have any of them ranked the same way. But before we get into any of that, I want to thank our sponsor for today, and that is Thirdzy. If you guys want to check out their Rest and Recovery Collagen and improve the way you sleep and recover in the process, you can go to Thirdzy.com. You can use our code TEF and you will save 20%. They also have a Valentine's Day sale going on right now, so you can go check that out as well. But use our code TEF. You're going to save 20% on their Rest and Recovery Collagen. It's got all kinds of great ingredients in there. Doesn't have any melatonin in it, so it is not habit forming. That's important. It doesn't make you drowsy. It just calms your central nervous system so that you get to sleep faster, you stay asleep longer, and you get the most out of the sleep that you do get. It has GABA, L-theanine, magnesium in it, all kinds of great ingredients. Awesome taste, and it will make you sleep better, and then you feel better when you get up. And look, if you're a master's athlete like me and you got them creaky joints, you get the you get that collagen protein in there, it's going to help you out a little bit. I certainly feel a lot better when I take it, and I've been training hard lately too, man. So it's been good. Like it's definitely been helping. I've been trying to do the 3 on 1 off, 2 on 1 off, and pretty much sticking to
Mhm.
it. So
That's a good schedule. That's my favorite schedule.
yeah, it
That
works pretty
that
well. I almost
Yep.
pushed it yesterday, but I was like, yeah, no, I'm going today and probably on Saturday as well. So Thirdzy.com, the code is TEF. All right, let's get to it. We now have a more complete picture of the Open. So we now know the sites of all 3 Open announcements. The first one, of course, is at Moffett Field, 26.1. That's in Mountain View, California, just north of San Jose. 26.2 is going to be overseas Portugal. It's going to have Miriam Van Roer, Lucy
Mhm.
Campbell, and Amy Kringle. So that's a good group right there. And of course, if Miriam Van Roer is a name that kind of sounds familiar to you, it should, because she always does extremely well in the Open.
Yep. Has won the Open, is Open
Yeah.
champion, and then, is able to obviously make it to the games and have a successful games campaign last year. But, yeah, we get 2, I would say, of the rising stars on the women's side given recent performances. Obviously,
Mhm.
Lucy's been around at the games a little bit longer, but with the injury setback, um, alongside someone from, who is an excellent, I would say, multi-discipline athlete Miriam Von was
Mhm.
competing in high rocks, great weightlifter, uh, uh, breaking through at the highest levels at the games in CrossFit specifically. It's kind of a unique matchup because I think people might naturally think that Amy and Lucy are similar athletes in terms of some of the skill sets that they have, while Miriam has a very, very different skill set, and I think generally has outperformed on a workout to workout basis when it comes to open programming
Mhm.
specifically. But yeah, that should be a very intriguing matchup to see what comes out of the hopper for that one.
Yeah, I love the fact that we're going overseas too. We always talk
Yes,
about here how
Portugal, baby.
yeah, Portugal's gonna be awesome. I think that's the first time they've ever done anything there.
As far as I know, yeah, it's the
Yeah.
first CrossFit specific
Mhm.
event in Portugal. Um, yeah, maybe go out to Nazaré and catch some of those big waves.
Nice.
Um, get some Vino Verde and get that delicious Portuguese wine they got going.
There you go. Well, so now all that needs to be determined is who is going to be participating in 26.3 that will be in Miami, which I think is going to be a great show.
Hmm.
But we will await those details. So we now know about, I don't know, what, 90% of what we need to know as far as the open is concerned. I guess less than that because we don't know the workouts, but we'll figure that out as we go. All right, other news, World Fitness Project has announced 7 new pro contract signees, all on the women's side.
Yeah, so kind of keeping the conversation going off of the 26.2 open announcement, Amy Krinkle is among that list. So more women specifically announced as having accepted their cards. The total list includes Olivia Kerstetter, Sydney Wells, Annika Greer, Emily Rolfe, Danny Spiegel, and Jen Muir. They join the initial batch of women athletes, which is Emma Tall, Andrea Solberg, Lydia Fish, Sydney Mikulishin, and Uda Lundekvam. So, yeah, women's side is starting to round out. Obviously, there's also been some announcements through the rule book and stuff about some special invites that are going out for the tour stop events to give athletes access to the events, but they don't get the full pro benefits. I believe Noah Olson was one of those. But yeah, some top level athletes. Amy is obviously, we just mentioned, rising star. Olivia, a podium finisher. And then, Emily Rolfe looking for a bounce back year after, obviously some injuries and stuff like that. And then Annika Greer, who's been finally breaking through and having some tremendous live comp performances as well.
It's impressive because look, WFP is spending money on the athletes. They're in their release that they sent to announce these 7 contract signings. A total of 1.268 million will be distributed through the contracts that athletes earn through their pro cards for the 2026 World Fitness Tour season. So that's 634 grand for each division.
Mm-hmm.
So there's some earning potential there, and you look at the field, and it's going to be, I think, it'll be a pretty entertaining season this year. They have some good athletes who are on board already.
Yeah,
Build on last year.
it's funny. I was having this crazy, I don't know, this shower thought, I guess. No, I don't want to say crazy, but I was having this conversation with some people at the gym not too long ago and talking with some people who've been around a long time. And they were just discussing, the back and forth, different leagues, the up and down of the games, and even like the weird political stuff behind the scenes and the way people talk about it online and try to pit sides pit sides against each other. And I kind of sat there and it just popped in my head. I was like, you know what? There's never been a better time to be an athlete in the sport in terms of options for making money for
Mhm.
for competing on the floor, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, you can talk about sponsorships, you can talk about brand awareness, all of those things, but your opportunities to take home a sizable paycheck in the sport have never been better. That goes for Wadapalooza, that goes for the games, that goes for Rogue, that goes for WFP. Like, you have these touch points throughout the entirety of the season across all over the world that you can go physically put your talents to use as an athlete and win and make money. I'm like,
Mhm.
could you imagine, like, you know, Kalipa, Spieler, even early days Froning,
Yeah.
Miko, they would have
Oh, man.
killed for that.
Mhm.
Tommy Hackenbrook finished second at the games, sleeping on the floor of a hotel room that he bummed from Heber Cannon and the Salt Lake City crew. You know,
Mhm.
and now 20 athletes on each side get hotel room, board, flights, guaranteed contracts for 3 different events across the season, and it's it was a bit of perspective that like popped into my head and discussing with another person who I would consider an OG fan of the sport. It's been around forever from Santa Cruz, and I'm like, yeah, you know what? Like, got to remind ourselves where that's at.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I remember Tanya Wagner talking about when she won the games in 2009, got like a golden hammer and enough money to buy a new refrigerator. You know, that was it.
Ooh,
That's what, and
but
she there's
only GE, not Wolf or
yeah,
Viking.
right now.
Only GE. No,
Not
no
getting a nice
KitchenAid.
Whirlpool model. Yeah, no. But you're right. Like when you think about that and how far that this has come in the last, 15, 16 years, like, oh yeah, that's how it used to be. So hopefully that's a really good point. Hopefully we can continue that momentum and athletes can continue to have opportunities to compete. So
Mhm.
good on them. Okay, do you want to get into it? Get into our top 5 list here?
Yeah, let's do
Okay,
it.
so what Tommy and I thought we would do is since the open announcement of 26.1 is just a couple of weeks away, that we would kind of take a trip down memory lane here. And, we always love doing our top 5 lists and things like that. And I thought this would be a good time to do another one. And the open announcements have been around, live open announcements has been around. I think 2013 was the first year we actually did them live, correct?
Ooh, 2013, yeah, so I
Yeah,
have
because
a
they
little
had
bit.
recorded open announcements in 2012.
Yeah, so 2013 is when the live announcements, as we know them, started. Like you mentioned, Sean, they were pre-recorded videos with athletes under embargo that included the announcement
Mhm.
and a workout demo, quote unquote. I just wrote a couple tidbits down during what were considered the prime years. We had 30 live open announcements from 2013 to 2018. For 2 years, the responsibility of the open announcements were put in the hands of the community. And then that picked back up with CrossFit taking them back internally in
Mhm.
2021. Um, it's crazy to think now that there after 2026, there will have been as many seasons post COVID that CrossFit has taken the announcements back under their wing as there were during the prime years, and that
Wow.
just doesn't make sense to
No,
me.
that
It
doesn't seem
feels like
right
it's
at
not true.
all.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it is, and
Mhm.
I think maybe just because the open has been shorter, uh,
Yeah.
that probably is one of the reasons. So there weren't as many like actual announcements overall. But yeah, there's been that many seasons under the belt, and yeah, I have my list of 5. I also had 2 quick honorable mentions
Okay.
that I also wanted to include just in general. But yeah,
You wanna do
it.
those first, so we're finishing with the
Yeah,
all
let's
right,
do
so
those
I didn't do
first.
any honorable mention, but I'd like to hear yours because one of yours might I might agree with it because I didn't put it on my list, but I considered it.
Ooh, yeah. So I had, let's see, I had 2, and for very different reasons, almost kind of personal reasons.
All right.
Um, the first one was 19.5, and it's the only announcement that was not hosted by CrossFit that I had on this list.
Okay.
The reason 19.5 was Loud and Live hosting the announcement. They did a full production. It was on top. It was on a rooftop in Miami, across from where their offices were. It was Matt Fraser versus Tia Toomey. There's also an undercard with, I believe, some of the top Latin America athletes as well.
Mhm.
To me, this is the single most impressive live open announcement performance I've ever seen.
Yeah, you know what,
This,
dude? I remember doing this workout in my garage, and I was
mhm,
like, I got through, I don't know, like the second round, and I'm going, "Oh my god, they were done." This
yeah,
was, and yeah, we're showing it here, but this was
a-
like,
and I called this one live
mhm.
alongside Brandon Domain, and I remember seeing the time finish and going back and redoing the calc on the reps that had to be done, and I'm like, I don't think people realize how unattainable this is
Yeah.
because of how easy they made this
Mhm.
look. And I could be wrong, but I think this is still true. This is the only time that both athletes competing, men and women, set the top time globally during an open announcement. So Matt Fraser and Tia Toomey, I believe, both won this workout
Mhm.
worldwide, and they did it with their scores from this live open announcement.
Come on. Yeah, that is a rarity because usually even the athletes that participate in the live open announcement will go back and redo it just because they're like, okay, now I've had a run at it and I get to be in my gym. But that rarely happens. Like rarely. But of course, when you have these two, how could it not? So,
This is also the most sore I've ever been from an open announcement.
it was horrible.
It was absolute. I mean, I was trashed just because it was like the intensity of Fran, but with what is it, like triple the reps or whatever it was. It was like 33, 27, 21, 15, 9.
Mm-hmm.
And it was chest to bar pull-ups. And I remember thinking, like, I'm going to test this one out, give it my best go. And then I always did Friday, Monday redos. Could not move Monday. I was like, "There's no chance. My open's done. I cannot do this."
Yeah.
So that was my honorable mention. Doesn't quite stack up to the other ones, but the other one was quick. We don't need to pull the video, but it was, I believe it was 13-4. It was Spieler versus Graham Holmberg, and I called it the Fight Club open announcement. It was clean and jerks or ground to overhead, and toes to bar.
Okay.
Just a
Yeah.
simple couplet. And I want to say it was done somewhere in the Midwest, maybe even in Denver. Um, and the way they had this set up, it was not your traditional open announcement when they were competing, as far as like the set floor and how everything was. It was the two athletes right there. It almost looked like it was just done on the floor of the gym, nothing extra special. And they had all the fans nice and tight around the athletes.
I
So
remember that.
there was a spotlight, the athletes, and then it was like the fans and people in the gym were right on top of you, and it felt like a Fight Club type environment
Yeah.
where like the edge of the ring is people, like, um and that was also an open workout that I blacked out. So
Damn.
it's
Okay.
the only open workout I've ever blacked out in, and one of them maybe only 3 workouts so I've blacked out.
All right.
And I just remember that I had about a minute left, and I was closing in on the score that I wanted to beat. Uh, I think I was maybe doing it alongside Heber and Mars at the time. Justin Berg walks into the HQ gym, goes, I hear him say, "Who's going?" They're like, "Tommy." They're like, "Where's he at?" They're like, "Under a minute." And he just locked in and basically got my face and was
Mhm.
like, he said everything the right way, and it like re-energized me, and then I blacked out.
Jeez.
And I remember coming to on the ground and being like, "Did I get that? Did I get the score?" And JB was like, "You got it, and then some." And I was like, "Sweet."
Nice. Well, you know what? I'm glad you included one from 2019 because to be totally honest, all mine are from 2018 back.
Yeah, all the rest of mine are.
Oh yeah, so I'm glad we got one of those in there because, and I want to
Yeah.
like, let's give credit where credit is due. I really thought last year they got back to sort of that feel of what the open announcements were supposed to be after kind of experimenting with these different sort of formats and stuff. And I really thought the 3 that they had in 2025 were like, okay, yes, that's what we need right there. Let's just do that and let's everyone be happy. So I hopefully like now that we're going to have some good ones, moving forward. Not that the ones before that were bad, but I felt like it's like when when you have a favorite band and they go album, and then they have their experimental phase and then they go back to being what they were.
Mhm.
It's like not that those experimental phase albums were bad. It's just that's not what I love them for. So that's the best way I can categorize it. All right, let's start with our top 5. So what's I'll go first. You want me to go first with mine?
Sure.
Okay, so I'll start. My 5th one, I'm going to go with 18.5. It was the very last one that we did that CrossFit actually did before everything happened. It was in Iceland, and it was Annie Thoros' daughter, Catherine Davis' daughter, and Sarah Sigmund's daughter. And it was the first time that there was a fan vote because it was but it was between 2 workouts. And I think it was the thrusters and chest to bar pull-ups ascending ladder. And then it was also, I think, the overhead squat toes to bar one that was in a window, I think. But it was
Mhm.
it was the thruster chest to bar one that won out. And it was just really cool to be like, I'd never been to Iceland. I got to go to Iceland. So there are some personal reasons in this as well as why I'm ranking this up there. Got to see CrossFit Reykjavik, which when you talk to cab drivers there, they're like, oh yeah, we take people here all the time. Like this is a big stop when people come into town. Like they all know it. It was a great experience. I remember we got off the plane, we'd flown all night, and our director Mike Roth had arranged like a tour for us. So we literally got off the plane onto the bus. We were all just dead tired, but got to see all these great sights. The announcement was fantastic. So yeah, that's my number 5, and I'm going to see if I can call up a little bit of the video here. But it was a great time. I thought it was one of those where you're like, oh man, this is going to be, I can't wait to see what we do next year.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Because the fan vote really was kind of crazy. It was like it was the realization of something we had talked about, and like, would it go over well? Could
Mhm.
it hold off? Could we do that? And ultimately, like it it did work, and I thought they did a good job of narrowing the scope of what could be done. And I actually remember you lobbying pretty hard here, being like,
Oh god, I didn't want to do more
everybody.
thrusters.
Everyone was like, you were like, everybody, there is a clear choice here. We have an opportunity to curb our suffering if we need
Yeah.
to. I remember you like very, very, very clearly like lobbying for that. Obviously, you see, and it's funny to see Mars and Heber and everybody out there on the
Yeah.
floor. It was also just a nice ode to a one like a gym that has had a huge impact,
Mhm.
and a country that the history of the sport on the women's side is inseparable from,
Yeah.
um, which was super super cool. And like you said, I thought like, oh yeah, this is only going to be better next year.
I know,
Nope.
right? Whoops a daisy. All right. So that's my number 5.
So funny enough, my number 5 also includes 2 daughters,
All right.
and it is 16.4.
Nice.
16.4 was done at Schriever Air Force Base. To me, this one signified an ability to pull off some elements and logistics that were it for me. It was like CrossFit has more pull now.
Mhm.
The fact that we were able to get the clearance and get it done on an Air Force base and get the clearance for people to go compete and do that.
Mhm.
We also had some selected athletes from that were Air Force cadets as well. I
Mhm.
Cadets is the right term. I could be wrong on that. So, my apologies if I did. And I also just loved this workout. The 55s workout, as we called it, was like deadlifts, rowing, wall balls, handstand push-ups,
Yeah, I love this one too.
beginning. This is one you judged me on multiple times.
Mhm.
It was approachable. It was stout enough with the handstand push-ups at the end where it really separated, and I just thought this was such a cool way to do something that was unique in terms of hosting it. It touched on the history of the sport and the methodology with the military. The setting was cool with like the hangar there,
Mhm.
and like as you could see on the video, we were like there were some new elements pulling in terms of like live tweets that we could work into the broadcast, and that was just super cool. The implications of the competition side, you had Katrin and Sarah, and Katrin is coming off winning the games in 2015. Anyone who was there at the CrossFit Games in 2015, through 3/4 of the way, they would have told you Sarah Sigmundsdottir is the fittest woman on
Mhm.
earth, right? And it was a calamity of events on the final day that kept her not only from the top spot, from the top 2 spots. Tia was, lurking. It's crazy to think about that now in retrospect. So it really felt like these were the 2 women that were really there to win it. And I felt like it was a huge, huge step up from Sarah Sigmundsdottir to kind of like go out and compete. It reminded me
Mhm.
of, and it didn't have the same ramifications after the fact, but the year Graham Holmberg won, right immediately after they did the Rogue Again Faster Showdown.
Mhm.
And one of the first call outs was Rich calling out Graham in a head to head workout. And this kind of felt like that
Yeah.
again. But,
Yeah, this is a cool set. I like the workout too. This is what I just like me a long chipper. Um,
Mhm.
so yeah, that's a good one, man. That was certainly one that I considered. And I think I'd definitely give it uh, an honorable mention. Okay,
Mhm.
so number 5 for you is 16.4.
Yep.
Okay. All right, back to me. So now to number 4 for me. So number 4 for me, I'm gonna go way back here. And I
Ooh.
now that I think about it, maybe I should have put this higher. But I'm gonna go with 13.5, It was the
Ah,
culmination of the first year that we did the open live, like we did those open announcements live, and it was a double header. We went to the Santa Cruz, what was it? Community, not the community center. We like the arena they have
Civic
there,
Center.
Civic Center. That's
Civic
right. We did the Santa Cruz Civic Center, and it was Sam Briggs and Camila Blanc Bazinet going head to head, and then we had Rich Froning and Jason Khalipa. Now this was the one where it was the basically the round of Fran over and over, 15th round of 15. So you had to get 3 rounds of 15 thrusters at 100 pounds for the men. I think it was 70 for the women. I know it was
Yeah,
like
it was
higher
just a
than
little bit
usual.
extra.
And then you had to get 15 chest to bar, 3 rounds in a 4 minute window. You do that, you get another 4 minutes. So this was like brutal. And the atmosphere there was unbelievable. Like this was up to this point. So again, this was the first season. Everything had been done inside of a gym. It was pretty well contained in a small space, and we didn't know like what the crowd was going to look like. But they packed that place. Like you can see on the video, like you had a guy in a chicken head in there. You had people just
Yeah.
like hanging on the stage. It was, this was unbelievable. And then to watch Rich Froning and Jason Khalipa go head to head, and Froning like just would not stop. I mean, it was just unbelievable. That was peak Froning, and that's when you knew like this. No one's beating this guy. Like if he can
Oh,
do this, no one's beating this guy. But I think this was the first time we felt like, okay, we've got something here. Like people are going to come watch this stuff, because I think the whole concept of doing these live was sort of like, I don't know if this is going to work. And
mhm.
then as we built momentum throughout the season, you ended with this one. It was like, okay, yeah, this is going to be just fine.
Yeah, for sure, and you'll be able to see the evolution of our graphics packages from
Yeah.
going live over the years. Also, pay attention to the Boz's outfits and look. He goes from
Yeah.
long hair, no facial hair, short hair. You get to see Boz throughout the years, and I think it's a cool evolution. This also had would eventually be the 2 fittest men on earth. This is the year that Khalipa had that huge charge at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Rich reeled him in, and they were the 2 guys that closed out the open on the men's side, so it felt fitting. One of my favorite photos ever in the sport was a photo that was taken by Will Duncan at this announcement. It was basically this side profile type shot um, that had the man in the chicken head on it.
Yeah.
It was posted in the office. Will Duncan
Mm-hmm.
was kind of like our lead tech guy, but he was also a very talented photographer as well. It was always like kind of brought a smile to my face. You walk by, you see the chicken head guy, you see 2
Yeah.
athletes crushing it. It just kind of characterizes everything. Also, excellent after party. There was an awesome after
Oh,
party
that was
after
great.
this one. It's
The
the
whole thing was
Hotel
great.
Paradox in Santa Cruz. It was great.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I do remember that. That was fun. All right. What's your number 4?
So my number 4, and I promise I'm going to get into a different years here at some point. Um, is 16.2. So it is Dan Bailey versus Bjorgvin Carl Goodmanson at somebody's garage in Candler, North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
So this was this first 2, there's definitely a theme, and comes down to logistics, right? We live in a different era now where streaming from different places and getting access globally is a lot easier. But I remember the logistics of 16.2 in coupling with 16.4 were insane. How are we going to get enough of a pipe out of here to feed this back to California, to get this to the internet, to get this to the world so it doesn't crash, and still be able to make it look good in somebody's home gym? I remember we did a kind of a reach out like, "Hey, you could host an open announcement workout and 2 of the best in the sport, and you gotta have a garage gym that fits." And that was kind of a cool crowdsource thing that they did
Mm-hmm.
as well. This is also one of my favorite open workouts of all time.
Yeah.
I thought there is without having to dip into two-parters and all this craziness, I thought this is one of the best open workouts of all time in terms of showing that there are levels to this. In finding something that has a good progression and allowing the best to separate themselves from the rest. So
Yeah.
this was kind of a threshold style workout where you would have to get to certain sections and buy yourself more time. Um, and involved toes to bar, double unders, and then ascending weight with descending rep squat cleans. And the weight for the men went 135, 185, 225. And the big like jump point was getting through that 225 and getting to 275. And I remember everybody being excited about it, and then people doing this workout and touching the 225 and being like, "Uh-oh."
Mhm.
It looked a lot different for them. At the time, there was this kind of situation, this almost like theme of like Dan Bailey having never won an open announcement. And for a second, it felt like we finally got to see that curse get lifted. And it feels so long ago, this being a controversy, but I feel bad. Um, Dan's judge, who is a good human, longtime L1 seminar staff, just an all around good dude. I'll leave his name out of it, out of respect to him. Miscounted his reps. There was an error on that, and ultimately Dan had to go and redo it. So he
Oh,
didn't
man.
actually get the win over BKG here. But um, just being like after this year, it was like we can broadcast anywhere. We can do anything at this point. We can go in someone's garage. We can go to
Yeah.
Air Force Base. Like anything's on the table after this. And this workout got repeated a few years later, and just marks all around.
Yeah, I remember there was a lot of trepidation about doing this. We're like, "Wait a minute, we're gonna try to do what?" And like you said, 2016 was a you did not have the consumer soft or hardware available that you do now to like make it very easy to stream in a very remote location. Like it was,
Mhm.
we were really worried about that. Plus, we need, like you said, we needed a very strong internet signal to get all that out. You know, in a garage, how are we going to put all the cameras in there? Like, and it worked really well. Like I thought that was a yeah. When they told me that, I'm like, are you sure about this? we okay.
I can't remember who it was. It was like, oh yeah, like our staging area for the athletes was just this this the kitchen.
Yeah,
Like this person's house.
yeah, that was great. All
Yeah.
right, that's a good one. Yeah, I thought about that one too. All right, I'm down to number 3 now. So number 3 for me, I'm gonna go a year back of you, and I'm gonna go to the opening announcement in 2015. 15.1. It was, I believe, the first time we had a 2-part workout, and it was Froning versus Fraser.
That's my number 3.
Is it okay? Well, then
Yeah.
now we're just knocking both out. That's perfect. See, great minds right here. Yeah, this one, because I got to be at this one. I remember it was like right after like a snow apocalypse up there.
Mhm.
And let me turn these closed captions off. But it was you had the top 2 men from 2014. This was sort of the passing of the torch. It was the
Mhm.
first 2-part workout. This was where it was like, okay, Froning had just won his 4th. Fraser was very clearly the heir apparent. There was no doubt that once Rich made the announcement that he's going team, that it was now Matt's to lose. And you had this workout with the deadlifts and the toes to bar, and then you had, what was it, the 1 rep max clean and jerk, I think,
Clean
at
and
the end.
jerk. Yeah,
And
so
this workout also, I think, had the spirit of the competition rule that was applied to it, because if you remember, and I can't remember the guy's name, but you had people that they'd go and they do like 1 toe to bar, submit that score, and then just sit there and like they just mongo the barbell and win that part of it. And they're like,
yeah.
yeah, we're not going to do that. That sort of led to, yeah, no, that we're not going to let you do that anymore. You have to try to make an
Yeah.
effort in both.
It's a
But there was
great
a cool
pull.
atmosphere. We were there on at Reebok HQ.
Mhm.
Um, it
It
was
was a big it was a
yeah,
big transitional year too, because
yeah,
if you not just from the passing of the torch from Rich, this was the year that the first time we had super regional format. So the
mhm,
old 17 regional format was being condensed, and we were combining like all these competitions. So I think there was also a lot of hesitancy from athletes being like, is it going to be harder to make the games this year because we're being pushed into this condensed super regional format? And I think a lot of people had questions about like what Rich's plans were going forward. Obviously, he was going team. This was the year that the beginning of the super time, like the true beginning of like multiple super teams, not just
mhm,
Hacks Pack having their super team for a couple of years and being chased by Invictus. This was like, oh, Mayhem's coming and everybody's going to follow suit after this. It's a new era in the team competition too.
yeah,
And this was just a flat out awesome pairing, right?
yeah,
Like you had Matt going out hot early, Rich reeling him in on the toes to bar at the end, looking like Matt was going to win the clean and jerk. If you watch his back foot on his last rep here, you won't see it on this video, but if you go back and watch it, he like hits something and almost like slips, and just the body control to not a get hurt and collapse under the weight of what was like a 300 and I don't
yeah.
know 65 or 70-pound clean and jerk, like it was felt like, oh man, like we're just right there. One, Rich has still got it. Two,
Mhm.
Matt's there.
Yeah.
Matt's it. Um, Also, if you follow along all like the weirdness of Dave Castro during open announcements, this has it all. He's in the Tom Brady jersey. He
Which
has which as a Dolphins
you
fan
can't do
is
that.
yeah, you can't do that. But it also was like it might be one of the more awkward and uncomfortable presentations of the workout ever, with his cadence,
Uh-huh.
and he did the
One.
15.1 with his hand
Yeah.
signals. And you're
Uh-huh.
just like, "What's going on?"
If you ever
Yeah.
wanna see something hilarious, like, I wish that someone would I wish we could, and I might try to do it sometime, but he would get pissed, is record him when he's going through the rehearsal. Because what he will do during rehearsal, because he can't announce the workout, is he goes out there and he just goes, like, very quietly, he'll, like, just mimic his hand movements, goes back and forth, not without saying anything. He's just, like, miming it, and then he'll actually walk over to the spot, and he does the thing, like, it's pretty funny.
Yeah, it was a huge transitional year, hilarious presentation from
Yeah.
Dave. I mean, the 2 best males to ever do it. Um, it's I mean, I think between the 2 guys on that screen, you have, like, almost 20 CrossFit Games medals.
Well, yeah, and the thing was too is like people now will always have that conversation. Oh, why can't they go head to head? Or I wish I could have seen that. Well, we had 2 years of it. We had the
Mhm.
games in 2014, and then we had that open announcement.
Yep.
And we've had a couple other times in open announcements when they've, I think it's at the ranch they were
16.5, yeah, at
65,
the
yeah,
ranch.
they were part of that. But that was like that open announcement was peak. Both of them. Can you hear me?
Oh, I got you. My headphones are just falling.
Headphones, right? I thought we had an audio issue there, but yeah, that was the like that open announcement was peak both of those guys, and
Yeah.
it's one of those things where you didn't like you knew it was special, but now looking back on it, you're like, oh man, that was the fact that we got to see both of them throw down in that setting is pretty awesome.
And I went back and watched the workout announcement, and
Mhm.
when they announced that it's the clean and jerk, the it was like the closest thing that we got to the predator handshake, like, "Dylan, you son of a," and, like, they're
Uh,
flexing. Like, you can see Matt and Rich both pumped, and they just, like, bro high five in the center because 'cause they're both just like 2 silverback gorillas getting ready to go, and it
mhm.
was I was, like, ready to run through a wall after that.
Yeah, yeah. No, it was a great one. Like I love the two parter. I
Mhm.
correct. I think that was the first time we ever did that, so that was pretty
Yep.
awesome. Okay, that brings us now to number two, since we both agree on number three. Um,
Mhm.
I guess because that was your turn and my turn. So back to me for number two. So I'm going back to 2018. I'm going
Ooh.
the one that you and I did together in Brazil. I'm going 18.1. Um, that
That's my
was
number 2 too.
is it see, there
I'm
we go.
I'm very curious to see what our number 1 is, but this was my second, and I told you earlier when we were texting that I was going back and forth between my 1 and 2. I
Mhm.
was strongly considering this one as my number 1, but I eventually just bumped it down to number 2.
Yeah, I this was the first time that the old Captain Handsome Roy McKernan was the host there, but it was really special because it was the first time that we had done anything in Brazil like this. Every time, obviously, whenever you kind of step out of your comfort zone and you do something new, you wonder, okay, what is this going to look like? How's the crowd going to react? And I mean, people were lined up hours, like in the morning, to get into this place.
Mhm.
I had never seen anything like that. And when they got in there, they were chanting and they were, the crowd was going nuts and they had their local athletes out there. I mean, look at that. Like the crowd was packed.
It
And
was it oh,
it was
I
awesome with
remember
Kristen Holta and Sam Briggs. And then you
Mhm.
had some of the local South American athletes who threw down as well.
Including Guy
And
Maieros.
yeah,
Guy did it.
Guy
Yeah.
was there and we got to see Guy at a Brazilian steakhouse when they told him, like, yeah, this is all you can eat. And he was,
He's like, "I don't have to pay?" We're like, "Nope." He's like, "Alright."
but yeah, this was really cool just because again it just showed us on the world stage what we can do with an open announcement, and we bookended this year. This is where we started Brazil and we ended in Iceland, so two international announcements that both made my top 5 for that reason, but this one I think was one of the most unique settings I'd ever been a part of, and to see the way that went down was awesome and received.
It was we got to call this one together. It was my first time ever doing color commentary live,
Mhm.
and I remember, like, wanting to get to the venue early. I remember I posted a photo that actually got reposted by, I think, the games on a story of you napping right before.
Yeah.
You're, like, taking a nap, and, um, I remember being, like, super nervous, and then we showed up, and I saw, uh, all the people lined up around the block,
Mhm.
and asked someone, like, "How long have they been there?" And they're like, "Oh, they showed up, like, 3 hours ago." And we're like, "Oh." Alright, this is
Mhm.
gonna be fun, and, like, the energy, because it was this was a late start, so it was,
Yeah.
like, late in the evening, and it was, like, a nightclub atmosphere there.
Mhm.
That was just I also remember feeling like, "The what can't we do here?" Like, this is the rocket ship that we've been
Mhm.
building, and we're taking off, because Brazil was the first country outside of the United States to have over 1,000 affiliates.
Yeah.
It was starting to explode there. Um, and the way they turned up for it, just felt like, "Oh, this is it. We got the deal with CBS. We got, streaming stuff going for Facebook." Like, the 2018 season was profitable. The contracts on the board were gonna make the
Mhm.
games very, very profitable for a long time, and, this felt like the matchstick for that, and I just remember leaving Sao Paulo and being like, "This is this is the high that people chase,"
Yeah.
like, for work and careers and things like that, which was super cool. I also remember flying in and turning, and we were banking on the plane and seeing the city sprawl
Yeah.
of that, and realizing that there's 17 to 21 million people, and being
Mhm.
like, "Whoa,
Yeah.
this is crazy."
Yeah, it was cool too. We had the community athletes working out alongside Holta and Briggs. It was a great show. And just to build on what you said about, the launching pad, we followed this up with getting regionals on CBS, and that was when we're like,
Mhm.
okay, we've got done all this stuff. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
we've arrived. So this is a great time, and it's an experience that I certainly will never forget because
No, no
it was
doubt.
it was really cool. So
And it was the first time doing, single arm stuff outside of a dumbbell snatch.
mhm,
Like that single arm, like clean and jerk, like hang to overhead, type movement was just another way. Like every year, I felt like Dave and Boz and did a good job of like sprinkling in new elements
mhm,
and just kinda making it slightly different, without it feeling stale or novel and, like, too novel, and I thought the programming there was that too. I thought they did a great job with it, and it was an approachable enough way to open the season. Because remember, this is the first thing that people saw for the 2018 season as far as live coverage and
mhm,
getting things
yeah.
kicked off, and it was per it was a perfect way to open the season.
All right, let's see if we agree on number one. I'm going to let you go first.
Okay, so
I
my
think we
number
do. I
1.
think we're going to agree.
Okay, so, my number 1 brings it back to the West Coast, um, into the famed Kezar
Yep,
Pavilion.
we agree.
Uh, that's funny, no way.
Yep.
Yep. So 14.5, it was the open announcement. It was hosted in San Francisco at Kezar Pavilion, if you're not unfamiliar with why that matters. Kezar Stadium is where the Niners used to play. It was the pro football stadium back when the Niners, before they had Candlestick. It's kind of this legendary spot, in San Francisco for sports, athletics in general. So hosting it there, for that open announcement was particularly special from a American sports perspective. But it had all 5 of the active, CrossFit Games champions on the women and men's side, at the time. So you had Rich, Jason, uh, Sam Briggs, Annie Thor's daughter, and I'm missing someone else. There was 5. Oh, and Graham Holmberg was
Yeah.
there. Sorry, my apologies, Graham. This to me was one of the funnest races I've seen in an open.
Mhm.
Um, Rich's post-game interview is hilarious. Him and Sam kinda going back and forth because Sam comes out blazing hot, and all of us are like, "Oh, crap."
Mhm.
Slowly, Rich reels her in, and they talked about that in the post game. where like they're like, Rich, like, what did you think when you finally passed her? And he's like, oh, I think I can get her. And Sam, what did you think when Rich passed you? She's like, I'll let him have it. And it was like, we're like, you just got beat by Rich. How
Yeah,
could you somehow walk away with a dub there?
I know, right? That's a
Like
good point.
what? Yeah, and um, this workout, in my opinion, is quintessential CrossFit pain in a way that's approachable to a broader audience. I think adding pull-ups, especially from an outside perspective, and I'm gonna dig in here a little bit. Anyone who's been around the CrossFit space for a long time, pre-open, early days, it was not uncommon to have people outside of the space that were poo-pooing and everything like that,
Mhm,
and you would regularly hear of the weightlifter getting convinced to do Grace, or the gymnast getting convinced to do Fran, or people basically like who turned their nose up at CrossFit finally deciding to dip their toe into the water. And there were certain workouts that you would kind of throw at them to almost like give them a piece of humble pie.
mhm,
uh, I felt like for a long time this was one of those workouts for people in more of the modern era where like what do they see? Oh, you got to squat it and put it overhead. Oh, a burpee? I can do that.
mhm,
And it's going down in reps. Psh, I got that. And then they do it and you get to the round of 9, you're like, my eyes are crossed. I don't
mhm,
know which way is up or down, and I think I'm dead. and, and and this was that for so long for me because I feel like introducing people to something that wasn't gonna like get them hurt, wasn't
mhm,
gonna necessarily like seem too unapproachable. This was that, and there's a reason why it got repeated a couple years later. Um, there was a photo of me doing this, I think, at one point a wrestling leotard, an American
mhm.
flag
Yeah, yeah.
wrestling leotard.
Mhm,
Um, and it was so cool to see the best in the sport rip this one and feel it firsthand to where like this was also not it was the first 4-time workout in
mhm.
open history. So as Dave said, the
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 clock,
clock
it will save you not.
not yes, that
From
was very
Yoda
weird.
Castro.
And he throws like a watch
Yep,
at the
yep,
thing. I
there
was
is a
like, it's like, did Yoda write that?
yeah.
But
Well,
yeah,
there was
oh
this
man.
was cool too because you can see if you're watching the video, but this was where we were always trying to figure out how to take the live experience and translate it into a more easily understood competition for the viewing audience at home. And we had the numbers on the floor. And you can see like the different stations. So as you watch from above, like as you get that camera angle, you can see, okay, here's where they are in the reps, and it's easier for them to follow along. Because if you go back to like 2012, 2013, and you watch the games like in the tennis stadium, a lot of times you're like, what's going on the floor? Like there were no real lanes, there was no discern, like barbells were rolling everywhere. Like it was just like they're kind of in this area working out. So this is where you can kind of start to see sort of the evolution of how do we make this more easily understandable for a common viewing audience. So if you have any sort of knowledge whatsoever about sports, you can say, oh, that's the number of reps that they're going to do at each station, and just little
Mhm.
things like that that they started to incorporate. But yeah, this is first time that we were doing something for time because all of us were like, oh, before, prior to these. This one, you'd get these open workouts with all these reps. You'd be like, oh, well, I'm not even going to get that far because I'm going to get capped. So I'm just doing
Yep.
10 minutes of work or whatever it is. And this time I was like, no, you're in for the whole thing now. So
Mhm.
it's like, it was cool. It was a great environment. And it was another thing where early on there was just people all over San Francisco in that general area by Keys Pavilion. You're walking around. There's a Whole Foods down there that I think probably closed early because everybody was going there to to
Mhm.
to get snacks and stuff, and then to watch this race play out. And the first time that we had men and women competing at the same time in an open announcement was cool. And it was again, this was the second year that we had done these now, so 2014, and it was just another proof of the concept that we there's a demand. People want to see these high level athletes throw down like this.
And even look at you can see the lighting rig and the scaffolding around,
Mhm.
like, this was a good production,
Yeah,
and, you think about where things stand right now as far as production, and you go back and look at that, you're like, "That was 12 years ago."
yeah.
Like, and it feels almost crazy to talk about that, and this was also an interesting that workout was a very interesting, kind of fork in the road for a few athletes. Rich obviously goes on to win
Mhm.
in iconic fashion. You have one of the best calls I've ever heard when that happens. Jason kind of solidified his place as like one of the all-time greats. Obviously, he was already had that coming off 2013, but the question around sustaining it and where he was going to be as he's taken his swan song for the individual side too, and getting to get back onto the podium that year. And the women's was super interesting because you remember 2013, Annie sat out. She had an
Mhm.
injury. She went from back-to-back titles to an injury, and there was a huge question mark like, can she find that form again? And this was kind of that reintroduction for her in a live setting. Sam felt like she was bulletproof. One
Yeah.
2013 was winning off-season events, was putting out performances. I saw her finish a workout at the OC Throwdown, one of the last years it happened, that no one else got even 50% of the way through the workout, and she before the time cap, and she finished it. She felt superhuman. Didn't make the games that year. Missed out because the handstand walk. And people forget, like, she went from top of the world to not even qualifying
Mhm.
because of a singular skill. Um, yeah, and then, like, Graham was, it was kind of like a legacy pick,
Mhm.
and he made it in 2015 again and continued to pile up games qualifications and showed how legit he was, but was just kind of overshadowed there, I think.
Yeah.
Um, uh, and it was like, okay, that's a career also winding down as well. Like, this is the last time we're going to see these three guys like competing side by side.
Yeah.
And it felt very much like an end of an era for those guys specifically.
Yeah.
And Graham was the only one who competed another year after this year as an individual.
Yeah, that's a really good point. It's probably the same thing with Rich and Matt. It's like at the time when you're watching it, you knew it was special, but now when you put it in context, it's like, oh yeah, that was
Mhm.
probably never going to see something like that again. That was pretty awesome. So
Yeah, and Roe versus Boz was in the side of the like,
yeah.
just outside of Kezar Pavilion on,
Mhm.
like,
Like a loading
asphalt.
dock or something, right? Yeah.
Yeah, the loading dock, yeah, pretty much. Yeah, that was wild.
That was cool. All right. Well, so we agree on our top three. We just had different 5 and 4.
That's funny.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Man,
thought, I mean, to me, like the 14-5 it had to be that one for me.
yeah.
Um, it was just between that and the one in Brazil because I'm just,
There's, I mean, like, I tried to break it down, like, location, how
Mhm.
special was the location, the logistics behind the scenes of bringing it together, like, that we got to uniquely see and understand,
Mhm.
in those days. The athletes competing, the workout itself, the performances that we saw. 14-5, I was in awe the entire time.
Yeah.
Like, that was, and I think that's what separated it over 18-1. Like, in the end, like, the sport is about the athletes,
Mhm.
and we had we had a lineup, like a murderer's row of the best athletes historically that have climbed the mountaintop in our sport, and they're
Mhm.
all doing something so simple and elegant, and they're just burning it down.
Yeah.
And it was like, how do you beat that? It was so good. It was so good. And
Yeah.
that one had a fun after party too.
Yeah.
Everybody was having
That's
a good
true.
time after that one.
Exactly. All right. Well, I'd love to hear what people think about their top open announcements. And I'm really looking forward to the ones this season. Like I said, I think
Mhm.
they kind of found their groove again last year, and I'm hoping they can continue it again this year. It's going to be a lot of fun. So yeah, let us know what your favorite ones are because I'm sure that someone will put someone in there like, oh yeah, I should have put that in there. I forgot about that one because there were some.
Yeah.
There's just and here's the thing too. Like I've always wanted to write a book about sort of those early years and the stuff that went on and trying to get that stuff on air. And there's so many great stories. Like I think about the one in Brooklyn where they
Oh,
had
yeah.
to,
Yeah.
there was a little breaking and entering in order to get the get the
Yeah,
internet
South
hooked up,
Brooklyn.
like just
Yeah.
crazy stuff like that would go on. So there's some really good stories there.
Oh, man,
Yeah,
that's God, it was a fun walk back down memory lane for
yeah.
sure, especially for all those early ones, and thinking about what it took to get to that point. Because um, just a couple years prior, that seemed like a live open announcement seemed like
Oh
a
yeah.
pipe dream,
Well, I remember
you
when
know?
yeah, we're gonna do them live this year. I was like, what? You can, yeah. So
And if you were
we made it
part of that
happen.
team, you're basically like, "I'm gone for 5 weeks."
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And I give the last thing I'll say about this. Give credit to guys like Tony Budding and Joe Novello and
Mhm.
Justin Berg for having the vision and the wherewithal to be able to pull that off.
Yeah, for
Because
sure.
13 years ago, that stuff wasn't really a thing at that level.
No.
It's different now because the technology has advanced so quickly. But I give those guys credit for like envisioning it and then pulling it off and finding the people who could, kind of just make stuff up and it worked. So that was cool.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, do we have any community support that we need to get to before we sign off here? I believe we have some. If you guys have
We
something that you
do.
want us to get the word out on, we're always happy to do that. You can hit us up on our individual Instagram accounts, our Talking Elite Fitness Instagram account. Make sure you include as many details as possible because we want to make sure that we're sending people to the right spot. I know we got one here. So, Tommy, community support.
Yeah, so this one was sent in from Whitney. Thank you for sharing it. So this is in support of Alex from CrossFit 970 in Loveland, Colorado. Um, Alex Tilms. I'm just want to make sure I'm pronouncing it right. Tilmes. He's in recovery after suffering a stroke in class. He's only 27 years old. He's one of the top athletes at the gym, and was actually getting ready to go to Wadapalooza. So kind of a really crazy and unfortunate series of events. During their 11 a.m. class, he suffered the stroke. Thankfully, due to the quick actions of the coaches and first responders there, he was transported immediately to Medical Center of the Rockies, where he underwent emergency surgery to remove a clot that had traveled from his heart to his brain. The stroke affected the left side of his body, and on February 9th, he was transferred to Craig Rehab's hospital to begin an intense neurological rehab journey. If you know Alex, you know he's more than a fierce competitor. He's a joy to be around, huge heart, legendary hugs, infectious smile. During the first weekend of the CrossFit Open, CrossFit 970 will be all in for Alex, which is what they're calling the fundraiser. Their goal is to help offset medical bills and future heart-related surgeries. Here's how you can support. They're selling all in for Alex Open t-shirts. Shirts are $25 each. 100% of the proceeds go directly to Alex. You can purchase a shirt on the iPad at the front entrance if you're in the area for the gym, through Wodify, or email Krista, Krista, at CrossFit970.com to claim one. You can also cash at the gym. They're doing a weekend donation drive on February 28th during 26.1 at CrossFit 970. Heat started at 8 a.m., no drop in fee, just donation and support. They also have a GoFundMe as well, created to help provide an online presence for his support. If you go to GoFundMe.com, type in all in for Alex, the fundraiser is created by Joelle Hand, and it's a photo of Alex in a weight vest at the front. And you can type in all in for Alex. That's the name of the fundraiser as well. They're getting close to their goal. So the support has been incredible. They want to make sure everyone is grateful, and it sends out a special thank you for anyone who's supported so far. But yeah, they can rally around Alex, who was a linchpin of their gym, and a crazy, crazy set of circumstances, but hopefully is on his way back to being 100%.
Great. All right. Well, thanks for sharing that. I'm glad they sent that in, and happy to get the word out on that. Okay, that is going to do it for us for today. We got one more thing, Tommy. PR's no reps.
I do have a quick PR and no rep.
All right, hit it.
I'm gonna no rep anyone who said that Matt Stafford wasn't the MVP.
Thank you.
Because it was very clear. One, he was the MVP. Two, the Rams were easily the second best team in the NFL, maybe even the best on any given day, given how the Seahawks just kicked around the Patriots. That was my quick no rep on that one.
Appreciate that one. I would no rep that saying. I was like, I am going to punch, and I won't use the terminology that I use, but anyone who tells me that Drake May is the MVP over Matthew Stafford after watching the Super Bowl right in a very sensitive area of their bodies.
I might as well have just no rep Josh Pirtle, because the nonsense he was putting out about that is just hilarious.
Hey, he's a fan. It's okay.
Yep, exactly. I am going to PR Sam Radetsky. So Sam is a CrossFit OG, a Santa Cruz legend. He is one of the original owners of CrossFit West, which is the gym that I currently train at. It has since changed ownerships a couple times, but it was founded way, way, way back in the day. 15 plus year affiliate. Sam also is a legendary martial arts instructor. And for me, he was my introduction into formal striking and Muay Thai kickboxing training. And he was my my sensei, my instructor, my teacher and coach. He guided me to do my first point kickboxing fight. and I trained under him for a handful of years. He retired this past Saturday from coaching
Wow.
after 26 years of teaching martial arts. Just kind of a shift. He's also a very talented artist. He has his own studio that he
Mhm.
does art and pottery and all kinds of cool stuff. Just an all around amazing human. Uh, yeah, and so I got to attend his last class, and it was really cool to see athletes from all the different eras of his coaching and teaching, including some people that I trained with that have moved out of the area that I haven't seen in years. And you could see the love for Sam and through the and how much passion he put into it
Mhm.
by the people that showed up for him that day. Sam's a world class human, love him to death, and a PR for him for on a life well lived in the martial arts career because I know he's not going anywhere. He's still going to train himself. But yeah, it was just super cool.
Yeah, what's funny? You mentioned Sam. He was one of the first people I met when I showed up at HQ in 2012 to help with the regional stuff. Like he was
He
there, help. Like they were just recruiting anybody to come in and do that stuff, and he was super nice to me. So yeah, Sam's a good dude.
Yeah, he did a lot of writing back in the day, and he did
Yeah,
some writing for some of the update show stuff. He was actually I met him on my very first day working in person at the office at HQ. So
yeah,
I started working for HQ on the road, and then I would come back and do some stuff for the update show in the office. And one of the days I got to come in for the first time, I was also bringing in some hard drives for Rory McKernan. Sam was there, and I met him, and that was my first time. And he's like, "Anytime you're around, come stop by West."
yeah.
And yeah,
Great dude.
he's the best.
All right. Well, congratulations, Sam. All right, that is going to do it for us for today. We'll be back again next week. Got some good interviews lined up with Jason Hopper and Dallin Pepper. And of course, we're going to have some open stuff to talk about. So, a lot of cool stuff on the horizon. For Tommy Marquez, I'm Sean Woodland. Take care of each other, be better, and we will talk to you guys next time.